shameful in this country. This story right here. 4 black 12-year-old girls in Binghamton, New York were giddy and excited during lunch. 12-year-old, y'all. Okay? The school, though, didn't like that. Because these 4 black 12-year-olds were giddy, the school called the girls into the office and attempted to strip search all 4 of them because they assumed they were on drugs. According to the children, this is exactly what happened. Student A was made to remove her shirt pants and second layer of leggings. Then she was searched in her bra and underwear. Student B was made to remove her shirt and her outer pants. Searched in leggings and bra. Student C was made to remove her shirt and searched in her bra and pants. Student D was searched in her clothing. Received in-school suspension for refusing to remove her shirt and pants. Folks, this search was done by a school administrator and the school nurse. The school district released a statement outlining their policy, saying, quote, a student may, under current law and policy, be searched in a school building by an administrator. These searches may involve an administrator requesting a student empty their pockets, remove their shoes, and or remove their jackets. And the school district, in another part of its statement, seems to blame the trauma the students suffered on the students themselves for complaining. The parents of the 4 children released this statement, quote, to those willing to hear us and see us, the past several days have been unexpectedly stressful and traumatic to our girls, to us as parents and our collective families. Tuesday's school board meeting was our first chance to speak publicly on the events that brought us here, and we would sincerely like to thank all the community members who came out to extend their support. That support, as well as a need for clarity, is why we have decided to release this joint statement. On January 15th, our girls were strip searched by the nurse and administrators from East Middle School in the Binghamton City School District. The girls were individually taken to a private space in the health office and held for over an hour. They were subjected to sobriety tests and observations and told to remove their clothing to be searched for drugs and other illegal substances. 3 of our girls complied to the tests and observations, as well as the searches, and were then allowed to return to class. 1 of our girls complied to the test but refused to remove her clothing for the search and was sent to in-school suspension. We as parents did not consent to these searches. We as parents were not notified by the school before or after these searches occurred. Instead, our children informed us, and we had to follow up with the school the next day. All 4 girls missed several days of instruction after this experience, as they no longer feel safe at East Middle. During this time, school officials failed to communicate with us in any meaningful way and often failed to return our calls. It wasn't until the community attended the school board meeting that the administration began to express an interest in helping us transition the girls back into school. Up until this point, we have relied on intermediaries to advocate on our behalf and to get this information in the appropriate hands. Our first priority is and remains our daughters. Some of us attended and graduated from Binghamton schools before enrolling our own children. We know most of the teachers and staff at East Middle care about the safety and well-being of the students. Listening to our children recount and relive this trauma has been an experience we would not wish on any parent. And we hope no other child has to experience what they have endured. Once again, thank you to those willing to listen and to believe our girls.
So I
where are the
got a
lawyers?
beautiful 12-year-old.
I mean,
Let me put this in perspective.
Give them a chance. They're coming.
They will be there.
Give it a week.
They will be there.
Give it a week.
But so I have a beautiful 12-year-old, Michaela, and when I saw the story, man, it hit home because they decided to say they were hyper and giddy. That's the reasoning for doing a strip search, as if 12-year-old girls that aren't together at lunch or recess or any other social scenario wouldn't be hyper and giddy. I mean, they didn't say erratic. You know, they didn't even say out of the norm.
They were hyper and giddy.
these are natural things in
Joe.
the space.
The
Look,
district's going
man,
to get sued.
You
and
know,
sued
look,
big.
thank you. I mean,
Sued
look,
big.
I'm tired of the rhetoric. I'm tired of the comparisons. Look, omegas, alphas, sigmas, deltas, there are enough freaking lawyers in all of y'all's organization that you ought to be, you ought to be in, what is the little town in New York?
Binghamton.
I've been there. You know, beautiful mountains all around it.
Right.
Sue, you're unfiltered, right?
Yes.
Sue their asses off. That's we learned this from Johnny Cochran.
Right.
We've learned this
That's right.
from folk who, you sue them. And when you do that, then you take some of that money, you give to the parents, you give to the kids' scholarship fund, and then you use some of that money to train them dumbass teachers and administrators at that school to make sure this never happens again. Now that's unfiltered.
Derek.
Now,
Derek, Lauren.
if they were smart, this district would settle. They would figure out a way to hand them a bunch of money with a big apology and a big production made out of it, talking about training and all that. They're not going to do that because
they're arrogant.
They're arrogant and stupid.
That's why you sue.
First of all, to blame the trauma on the students. Derek.
I can't believe the story even happened. It's just, I have a daughter too, and I just couldn't believe that would happen.
Well,
I would have been furious.
The reason I could believe it.
It happens every day.
The reason I can believe it. So I went to William Holland Middle School in Houston, and we were in the library one day, and all of a sudden it was a Latino brother and myself. So all of a sudden, the security guard calls us into the office in the library, and he says, "I need the two of you to empty your pockets." And I go, "For what?"
Right.
He goes, "Well, the teacher said that one of you had really red eyes." Wow. Now, the Latino guy had really curly hair like I did. So the security guard was like, "Well, I don't know which one of them got the curly hair, so both of y'all come in." So we go in, and so we got to empty our pockets. And so I had a little paper that was rolled up. I said, "Don't even try it. Like, don't think that this is a sheet of paper for a joint."
Right.
So I get home. Now I got one of them old school daddies. So I get home, and I tell my dad what happened. My dad goes, "What the hell you just say?" He said, "Get the white pages." Okay, so for all y'all millennials, the white pages used to be like a big ass phone book that had phone numbers. This was before Google.
What's a
Where you had to with a big old, that was a yellow pages and a white pages.
Right.
Yellow pages, trust me, it's in a museum somewhere.
Yeah.
So
And you sat on it.
precisely. So I bring him the white pages, and so he opens it up. So boom, he looks at the middle school. So he calls the middle school, and so he calls the office. He said, "I need to speak to Mr. Broussard." And so, who's calling? Tell him Reginald Martin is calling. And so Broussard gets on the phone. My dad recounts the story. My dad said, "Now let me be real clear. I fully expect." He go, "Who the hell is your teacher?" I said, "Miss Hart, white woman." Right. He said, "I fully expect that tomorrow Miss Hart is going to personally apologize to my son for thinking he on drugs." He said, "Not a single one of my damn kids on drugs." He said, "Now, if my son comes home tomorrow and arrives home by 3:45 and tells me this story, I will be in your office by 4 o'clock. I fully expect this to happen." And all I could hear was, "Okay, yes, Mr. Martin. Yes, Mr. Martin. I'm going to make sure that happens, Mr. Martin." And hung up. And that's exactly what happened the next day. And again, it's one of those things that, because first of all, I grew up next to the ship channel in Houston. Hell, my eyes were red my entire damn life, all the chemicals next to the plant. But the fact that they sit here, and to your point, they were giggling. Hell, if 12-year-old girls were not giggling, I would think something is wrong. Right. But this is literally where we are, where there is nothing that black folks can do, where white folks won't stop us. We can be barbecuing, we can be giggling, we can be parked in the crossway. I mean, it's like going to the pool, having dreadlocks, wrestling. I mean, to your point earlier, this is where I keep telling everybody, we are operating in this place where white folks are seeing their power erode. And it's like, oh, no. We gonna have to just exert our authority on y'all. That's really what is this dynamic that's going on here. This whole idea that there's something that's totally wrong with us at all times.
We talked about the Brookings Institute 2040. That shift that's happening, right?
Oh, yeah.
So they've become policy masters. And in this conversation, the policy is at issue. It's what gave them the opportunity to be able to do that.
Well, the whole historic premise, obviously, of having people who've historically treated you in a way that's obviously less than human, educating your children, of course, has been a huge challenge for African Americans in a way that is almost inescapable. We of course, ran our own schools, had our own teachers, et cetera, for a reason. And of course, integration changed all that. And that question is a really difficult one for us to obviously confront. The school-to-prison pipeline, obviously, too, is a growing problem. The idea that this was treated as some sort of a prison, like this was Attica, you know, the way that you would have a strip search in a penitentiary, is just strange.
It's just not.
12-year-old girls.
Right.
Yeah.
Wild horses wouldn't cut it off his ass.
But please understand.
Final comment.
Please understand what they segregate. It's not segregating just color. They segregate power,
right,
resources, and responsibility.
Yep. Right.
That's what gets segregated. And now when you look at Congress, Elijah Cummings, Benny Thompson, Maxine Waters, a black president,
right,
all of a sudden, it's an entirely different world and culture, and people are just simply going to have to recondition the way they see us and think, and it's going to be a struggle. And as I said, on Martin Luther King Day, you honor the man, but after the day, you better live the message.
That's it.
There you go.
You want to check out Roland Martin Unfiltered? YouTube.com/Roland S. Martin. And subscribe to our YouTube channel. There's only one daily digital show out here that keeps it black and keep it real. It's Roland Martin Unfiltered. See that name right there? Roland Martin Unfiltered. Like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. That's YouTube.com/Roland S. Martin. And don't forget to turn on your notifications so when we go live, you'll know it.